Hello, everyone, and welcome to Medhedosnet Podcast Season 2, Episode 24, live on YouTube and Facebook. It's our last episode for Season 2, and our topic is Armenian history. Why is it important, and why is it being falsified? It is Thursday, July 28th, 2022. I'm your host, Vic and as always, I'm joined by multi-talented co-host, Mr. Mike Balyan.
You fumbled that one.
Yeah, where we discuss our great Armenian history, covering different people, eras, and topics. Please like, share, and subscribe. We have a special guest with us tonight. Joining us live in the studio is Hamlet Nersesian. How are you, gentlemen?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Before we start our conversation, I want to make a quick announcement. As everybody knows, tomorrow night we have a special live panel discussion, as we can call it, right? It is the Armenian historical and cultural falsification with Vahan Setyan. Cocktail hour starts at 6 p.m. with wine and art show and some finger foods. There's going to be live music, and then we're going to go on stage 7 p.m. So get there early. This is a free event, so you can, grab your seat. We'll have some more information at the bottom with the ticker, with the address and everything, but it's at the Glendale Youth Center. So if you're local, we want you to join, and we will be streaming live on YouTube and Facebook for the world to see.
Yes.
But besides that, again, Hamlet, thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate it. I was introduced to you through a great friend of ours, mutual friend, Gevorg Nazarian, who's an amazing human being. And you know him for a very long time as well, and Vahan Setyan as well.
Yeah.
So before, again, we start our conversation about the importance of Armenian history, if you can give us a quick brief bio about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you've done, and how you're involved in this whole historical concept of Armenia, I guess you can call it.
Again, thanks for the invitation. And nothing gives me more pleasure than to talk about the Armenian culture and history and many aspects of that history altogether. The way I look at it, the Armenian history is not just the history of people like King Tigranes did this or that. It's the entire concept of the historical events, people's relationships, from the top to the bottom. And when you look into all those relationships, you try to understand what those people were thinking, what they were doing, and why they were doing it. And when you go deep into this human relationship and a political relationship, then you start to understand the politics behind the history. And you go into historical aspects of the politics, and it all goes intertwined. And it becomes a big, nicely made movie, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then you start to understand it. If the movie is not written well, if the script is no good and the actors are no good, you disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very easy to disconnect.
But our history, once you get in, you can't get out.
Yeah. It just draws you in.
Oh, it's like
well, we can attest to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
That's why we're still here.
It's a sponge. You get in. Now, why I'm going to be very quickly about my biography. It's too long. It's just very short.
Well, just where you're from, where you grew up, and how you got involved in this.
I was born in Yerevan, Armenia, and I graduated from the high school in southern part of the city, Yerevan. There is a Sasunci David railroad station. Right next to the railroad station, there was a high school. That's where I graduated from. And I immediately got into the Armenian State University. And in 1963, I got into the linguistic department, so-called Banasidakan faculty of the Armenian State University. Upon graduation, I spent a couple of years mostly in sports, and I was an acrobat and used to travel a lot in Soviet Union. And I got to know the Soviet Union, what kind of a country that is, and I got to know the Russian people and all the rest of the other nationalities. It was a big, big school for me. And in 1973, I was trusted to go to visit Italy as a very trusted person by everyone, by authorities. And once I landed in Italy, I had already made up my mind before that, way before that, that I was not going to go back to the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And in 73, in April, in the beginning of April, I went to American Embassy and I asked for political asylum. And I was granted that asylum in September of 73. I landed in New York City and stayed there for 15 years, did all kinds of different kinds of jobs. eventually became a real estate broker. And I moved to California in 1988 with my family, a wife and 2 kids. So that's how I started in California. And why I got involved into the Armenian history, it's very simple. In 1977, it's very weird though. In 1977, I opened a book written by J. Allen Hynek, the Hynek UFO report. And when I read the book about the UFOs, and then my mind got kind of disturbed. I said, what the hell is going on here? And then I said, who are these aliens? Where did they land first? And then I got interested into the so-called extraterrestrial stuff, and then Edgar Casey's stories. You know, the Edgar Casey, he was a sleeping prophet.
Yeah.
And then I visited his museum in Virginia Beach. And I got deeper and deeper into this kind of weird stuff. And soon enough, that weird stuff led me into asking a question. Okay, I understand all this, but where did the Armenians come from? Where do we fit in it?
Yeah.
And then when I read more into the Edgar Casey's books, the origin and destiny of man, he's talking about Armenians. He says the king, the god Ratha approached Armenian king Arart and asked him to give him people to go to Egypt and build the pyramids. So he gave him 900 people with his son Arart, and they went over there and built the pyramids. I said, what's going on here? And then I went deeper and deeper into it. And then eventually I read more about that stuff, and more scientists came along. Along the way they come, the British scientists and Scottish, and then from here, from there, all kind of books come along. Once you ask for some strange reason, you receive.
Yeah.
So they come to you. And then after reading a lot of stuff, I figured out that so-called Garden of Eden is right in the heart of Armenia. Why are you looking all over the place? It's right there. And then I had to go back to Armenia, in other words, physically and mentally. I had to go back to center of Armenian plateau, Armenian highland, Metz hike, and start digging from there.
Yeah.
And that's where I started from. And then I read more and more about the Armenian history. I discovered that everything else is either halfway true or absolutely lie and falsifications of other historians, so-called historians, made by particular reason. And we can talk about the reasons a little bit later.
Sure.
But once you either deliberately or accidentally fall right in the middle of the events where Garden of Eden is, then you start digging from there. Like a rose, you start peeling it.
Yeah, the layers start
Like a
coming
lion,
off.
like a lion. Not lion. Soja.
Yeah, onion.
Onion. Sorry.
Yeah.
You start peeling.
Yeah.
You start peeling the onion, and all of a sudden you go right into middle.
Yeah.
And that's how I got more and more involved into it. And then I liked it because instinctively or genetically, I love to find out the truth. As far as I know, that great man has once said that the truth shall set you free.
Yes.
And I kind of believed in his words, and I said, I got to follow that.
I live by those words.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you follow the truth, that's what comes to you.
Yeah.
The true stuff comes to you.
Yeah.
You only get what you're looking for. You know, you get what you are looking for. And then American philosopher, I'll remember the name in a second, he said, the man becomes what he's thinking about most of the time.
That is a very true statement. I truly believe in that. Yeah. If it's almost like that wishful thinking, right? Yeah. If you constantly imagine yourself in that position or the being that you want to be, you will become that.
Absolutely.
Nightingale is the man's name. And when you start going that direction, it leads you to the truth.
Yeah, the path.
Okay, now what is the truth? The truth is what in reality did happen without falsifications, without
the distortions,
without painting it with a black or red or white. You study, you read, and then all of a sudden you find out the truth for yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody has to tell you that. Nobody has to teach you. You learn how to look for it. Years ago in 2001, right after 9/11, in Scottsdale, there was a big conference there. And then we were talking, there were 5, 6 different kinds of people, astronauts and ufologists and Sumeriologists. I asked a very good friend of mine, American big guy, Babuddin. I said, Bob, can you tell me why am I wasting my time on this stuff? He laughed for 5 minutes. He said, Hamlet, my friend, you're not wasting your time. You're just searching for the truth.
Yeah.
Then I shut up.
Wow.
I knew I was on the right track.
Yeah.
So that's about my past and then why I started the Armenian history.
From where to where though? That's so interesting. From you get into UFOs.
You were one of the
you get into ancient aliens.
ancient aliens, the first ancient aliens.
You know, they mentioned Karahunj in,
Of course,
in some of the ancient aliens
Yeah.
episodes, right? If anybody watched enough of them, but I know I did. But that's so weird. From aliens to the origins of where Armenians came from.
Yeah.
I mean, the concept's the same.
Yeah.
Right? You went digging all the way back to the front or to the beginning. Fine, but
Well, there's depictions of I guess call them pilots or something of from Armenian of like a spaceship with a human being sitting in there and flying it. Like there's some kind of a connection there.
A few years ago, when finally was allowed to talk about the Sumerians, so-called Sumerians. By the way, they never called themselves Sumerians. It's invented name by the Assyriologists. So when we started reading and the books were translated about the Sumerians and everything, all of a sudden it all blew up. I mean, it blew up because in 1870s, 1880s, English and European scientists, when they were digging in Middle East, especially in Iraq, they came up with about 30 or 40,000 written on a clay tablets, written
in
scripts,
texts,
you name it, and there was everything about everything.
Cuneiform. It was cuneiform.
Yes. And then when they discovered all of this stuff, and there were also not only these cuneiform scripts, but also pictures of a missile flying up and how they make them, and a radiator and a battery, and you name it, flying machines, flying subjects. Why in Persian and Middle Eastern cultures, you see a lot of times the guy standing in the middle has eagle wings. What has eagle to do with this king, right? Well, but it's a description of the men coming from up above. Those are the ones who did land here. So they had to make some kind of a description. They had to give you some hint.
Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, it also stretched far enough, I think, into the Indian culture as well. They had a lot of things written down about things that came down from the heavens. And
British linguist and historian Waddell wrote this thick book about that. How the culture transferred from Sumer into Egypt and into India. And he puts the names of all Indian kings and Sumerian kings next to each other, identical.
Interesting.
So the information, the names.
When was that book written?
1929. 1929. Sorry.
1929.
1929.
Wow.
Here it is.
1929.
Here it is.
You hear that, people? 1929.
Oh, here, look, Makers of Civilization in Race and History. You read this book, it will blow your mind. I mean, you'll lose your sleep.
As if we don't lose enough sleep.
I want to lose.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, you have some information that I think is just going to blow people's minds. But before we get into that, I think the first overall question is the importance of Armenian history. Why is it important for Armenians to know their own history and to share it with non-Armenians?
Okay. The answer for me is pretty simple. When children go to school, they teach them their language and their history.
Yeah.
Somewhat, more or less. If the child doesn't speak the language, doesn't know the culture, and doesn't know a little bit about the history, then what is he? He is just like another human being living in Mongolia or in South America or in North America. What is the difference? Why you calling him Armenian? You say, oh, you are my son, you are Armenian, I am Armenian, and you have to know this, this, and this to keep the culture going.
Yeah.
If at any time they make the children at school forget their language, speak a different language, like the Russians did and Turks did, make them forget the language. Turks used to cut the tongue of the kids, not to allow them to speak Armenian. In Russia, they forcefully make them speak Russian because they don't allow any Armenian schools in Russia. Until today, there is no Armenian school in Russia.
That's actually true.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lavrov came, foreign secretary of Russia, came to Armenia and insisted that we allow more Russian schools in Armenia. But hello, we have had Russian schools in Armenia all along for 70 years.
Yeah, of course.
Not 70, 70 plus another
Longer.
30.
Yeah.
Since 1920. That's why Armenians used to speak almost everybody. Besides the peasants, everybody else spoke Russian, and some real well. And I can speak fluent Russian, being Armenian, and graduated from Armenian high school.
Yeah.
But since I traveled a lot in Russia, I spoke their language. I picked it up.
Yeah.
And that is a plus for us, for those who do speak their language.
Yeah.
But by doing that, they want us to forget our language. So once you forget your language, then you become halfway Russian-thinking person. I know many guys who have graduated from Russian school in Armenia. Here, they are speaking like half Russians. You see, they cannot think Armenian anymore. Yeah.
Well, that's also happening here with our children, and that's the constant battle at home, at least with my children, is like speak Armenian, speak Armenian, speak Armenian. Even like they go to Armenian school, but they speak English in this school.
Easier.
I know it's easier, but you can't just use that as an excuse.
No, our fight is to make sure that they do.
Yeah.
But I'll give you one interesting example about the language. In a city of Shushi in 1918 until 1920, when the Turks Mongols came and created a massacre of Armenians of Shushi, 1920. So those 2 years, maybe a few before that, let's say 1916 to 1920, there were 2 schools in Shushi, one Armenian, one Russian. All the Armenian, the graduates of Armenian school became fighters for the Armenian cause, fighters for freedom and nationalistic causes. All graduates from the Russian school became revolutionary Bolsheviks.
Yep.
You see the mindset, thinking?
Yeah. That's how you program it.
The child becomes what he's taught all day long, what he's thinking about all day long.
Yeah. That's a way of thinking. Language is a way of thinking. You're literally grooming yourself to think like that culture.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. One of our listeners, he goes by the name the Tall Armenian. He actually posted something on Instagram which really hit home, and the quotation was, "A nation dies when its youth are disconnected from their ancestors." It's such a true statement, and I was just sitting there and thinking about it. My God, and that's what's happening right now.
I'd even take it a step further.
Just right now, the conversation we were having outside with our neighbor, he has young Armenians who are here from Armenia working
that don't know who
Komitas is, who don't know who
individuals
is.
Yeah.
They're in their early 20s. They have and then they're from Armenia.
Again, I got to make a little correction. Not correction, but fill it in. During revolutions, when the systems change, anything can happen. In 1990s in Armenia, as a result of so-called Karabakh War and the economic hardships, a lot of schools were closed down. A lot of children did not have proper education in all aspects.
Yeah.
Many people left Armenia to work in Russia for slave labor.
Yeah.
Their children didn't get enough education,
yeah.
the way we used to get.
Yeah.
My generation in 1950s and 60s,
yeah.
I'm sure now 70s, got that specifically set up education, which was Armenian, Russian, and foreign language.
Yeah.
Plus
my
history,
parents went through the same thing.
Same.
Physics, those secondary minor things would develop later on, whatever the child chose to continue on. Let's say somebody wants to become a physicist, he goes to university and studies physics.
Yeah.
But minimal high school education was proper, was enough for education of that young kid.
Yeah.
to think Armenian. And only the Russian schools, only the Russian schools were teaching basically in Russian. Even though they taught some subjects that concern Armenians, but they were done in Russian language.
Yeah.
That's why their mental thinking, thinking was in Russian.
Yeah.
And he could not get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's stuck in his head.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think in English or Armenian?
That's a valid question. I mean,
I would say probably
both.
60 to 70% of the time I think in English.
I
Because
don't-
that's
no,
what I mean, that's what I'm surrounded by. It's weird. Like there's Armenian in there, but it's also English. And I'm from Armenia. I grew up here. I came when I was 9, but it changed over time. Even though, here's the thing, I knew Russian in Armenia. When I came here, I start forgetting it.
completely
I mean, I'll
forgot it.
pick it up here and there,
You're
but
not using it.
yeah, I'm not using it.
I'll give you one other minor secret. I graduated from the German department at the linguistic department. I'm German.
Yeah.
I was a translator of the German
Yeah.
military texts into Russian, believe it or not. I had a military rank.
Yeah.
Within, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, I forgot German, although I was a specialist. I had a diploma to teach German and translate German.
Yeah.
I forgot it because I didn't use it and I didn't care about it.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I do care about the Armenian and it's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
of course.
I do want to keep the Russian because for certain reasons.
Yeah.
And I can still speak fluent and translate.
Yeah.
Synchronized
Yeah.
translation I can do with, from Armenian to Russian or vice versa.
Yeah.
But English, thank God.
So let's go back to the point of the question is why is it important for Armenians to know their history and share it with non-Armenians? Because that's this whole Medhedos started because of
Because
that.
of it.
So we want your point of view why it's so important.
I'm going to make one small comparison and then I'll go to the real question. I always tell my friends, look, either you take care of your own family or somebody else will.
Yeah.
It's either you teach your kids the true, real story to keep them in line,
Yeah.
the way you want them to grow up, or they will forget and somebody else's culture will take over.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, why are we interested in keeping our culture alive? Why do you think thousands and thousands and thousands of Armenians fought in the wars for their country, died knowingly that they are dying for a country, some mythical idea? What is my homeland?
Yeah.
It's a word. But beyond that word, there is an entire country with 15,000 year history
Yeah.
and culture,
If not more.
if not more. And I'm just conservative, 15,000 going along with what else numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hundreds of thousands of people who fought in a battlefield for their country.
Yeah.
They could have just
Yeah.
given
Like,
up and
hell with it. Why am I going to die? And
some Armenians in after the genocide or during and after the genocide, they did change their religion.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And they changed into Islam and they're still alive. I have walked in the villages of Hamshen in 80s, 85, 86. There are a lot of Armenians there that are still crossing themselves and doing all the stuff in Armenian way, but they are Islam
yeah.
because they wanted to save their lives.
Yeah.
But they saved their lives at the same time they lost their culture and they cannot continue on as
Yeah.
an
They
Armenian.
can't gain it back.
No, you can't get it back. You can't. What you lose, you lose. It's gone.
Yeah.
Culture is something you don't keep, you lose. It's
Yeah.
gone.
Yep.
Very
But
true.
those Christians who did keep Christianity, they are still Armenian and speak Armenian. They are culture Christian.
Yeah.
It's
No,
funny.
there's towns over there that
Yeah.
Armenians live and
Yeah.
they're Christians. And,
Hamshen.
yeah.
I walked in those villages.
Yeah. Later on we'll get into the story about you and Mount Ararat and everything, but I want to stay on topic
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
So
So for the average person, Armenian or not, why is it interesting to know Armenian history?
For us, it's mandatory not to lose our identity. And who are we? Anyway, if we don't care, all right, you can become either American or Russian or whatever. You can start speaking Bangladesh language and that's it. But if you are interested, if you care for your own past, if you care for those lives that are lost in the battlefields and during the genocide, if you care for all of that, you got to do something about it.
Of course. I mean,
The minimum you can do, the least you can do, at least speak your own language and teach to your kids. That's the minimum. Michael Arlen's example is the best. Michael Arlen was a man who grew up in England. He was so mad at Armenians that he did not want his son to know that he's Armenian. Okay? Michael Arlen. And his son grew up in English environment. And he found out that he's Armenian. He was so mad at his father, you can't believe it.
Yeah.
And he traveled in Western Armenia, wrote a book, Passage to Other, published 5 times. Can you imagine? Who gave you right to think for your children that they don't want to know if they are Armenian or they are Russian or whatever they are? Who gave you right to decide for them? All you do is you tell them what they are. This is what we are. This is our ancestry. You choose. You don't want to be Armenian, fine. But deprive him from
The choice.
knowing that he is Armenian.
The choice was taken away.
Yeah, he's going to
Wasn't
be
even
mad.
provided.
He's going to be mad because that blood, Armenians say, are you Najurchi Darna? The blood doesn't turn into water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the guy has Armenian blood, someday, somehow, it's going to explode.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you one thing. This podcast has resonated. I mean,
it has.
worldwide, and we get emails and messages from people, non-Armenians, and Armenians who have maybe a quarter of Armenian in them, but that blood, right, is in there, and it's woken them up, and they're starting to research and learn more about what is it to be Armenian. And they're teaching their kids who might be even a fraction of that Armenian. So the blood, what is it? The blood is thick as far as the Armenian
even
DNA goes. So it's a good thing that, even if you're half mixed, doesn't matter, to find out what about your background is, where you come from, especially from a culture that is so rich with its history.
I know we've talked about it in previous episodes where I personally have, I mean, I don't know about you, I personally have friends outside of the country, non-Armenians, that listen to this podcast almost all the time.
Yeah.
And they comment about it. Now, they're all from different parts of the world. Australians living in Greeks living in Australia, different countries in Europe, non-Armenians, they listen to the podcast just because of support. They're understanding more of all the connections that we've had in the wheelings and dealings,
especially
as we've talked about with the Greeks, of course, and then understanding more about, I hate to say it, but I have to, the lack thereof, the knowledge that they taught us in school with Roman history, with the Hellenic stuff. Just that's it. It was one tunnel that we went down in school. Now they're getting an idea of more.
Yeah.
One minor input: whenever you're talking about Armenian history and you talking about the good stuff, you are helping the other nationalities,
understand,
other people to understand themselves.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was an old Greek proverb that has been supposedly Socrates said. He said, "You learn yourself, and you will understand God's." I don't know what he meant at that time. You have to learn yourself to understand everything else. That's probably what he meant. If you don't want to study yourself, your culture, your history, your being, and everything else, what good are you for anybody else anyway?
It's true.
Yeah. Well, also, when you learn your history, you see what your ancestors did, how they believed, how they prayed, the things they did, the challenges they faced. Yeah, maybe we're more advanced as far as technology and the way we live and everything, but at that time they were advanced for whatever they were surrounded with, and they had challenges, right? So those same challenges can be used as examples in today's life. It was the same thing. It was survival, right? So that's what we're doing. We're maybe more comfortable, but it's all about survival and knowing how to live your life the right way, the healthy way. But if I can add to that, is how do we make it interesting for our own people to wake up and start learning more in depth as far as Armenian history goes? Because like I said, even in schools, and we mentioned this, it's the bullet points, Tigran the Great, blah, 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 so forth. How do we make it interesting for them to go and learn this? Because people get infatuated with like the Egyptians and the Greek and Roman history and all this stuff because of the way it's told. These great Caesars and pharaohs and this and that.
It almost makes it sound like that's the only history that was left with anything, but it's not.
But while all that was happening, there was the Armenian highlands, the great warriors and the kings we've had, and no one talks about it. How do we make that interesting for people to go, I got to know about this?
2 points that you brought up. One, I'm going to make very short, bring you a short example. Among all the World War II was going on, Mussolini had time to create a map on the wall of Forum. On that wall, on that map, there were 5 maps. First century BC, second, third, fourth, fifth, on all maps with big letters, Armenia, 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 on the wall of Forum. Okay, Mussolini didn't have anything else to do, but the guy had special interest, or interest in a true history.
Yeah.
He didn't want to lie, say, no, Armenia didn't exist because Rome was bigger at that time. Yes, Rome was there and Armenia was here. So thank God that some people think straight. Now, second point, why you asked.
How do we make it interesting?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I came to my answer to that question very simply. I said, I got to do what I can. Every person, like you do, every person must do his best. And he has to do what he can do well. So I sat down and I figured out, I said, well, probably I can do that through Armenian television program.
Yeah.
So I rented an hour in Armenian channel and started talking about these subjects, but on a very minimal, on a very basic level in 2000. And I started talking about Armenian history and this and that. I used to invite good guys, started inviting better known guys, or more knowledgeable guys. And Georg Nazarian was one of my guests. And then a very talented historian, Vic Nersesian, of Armenian, Iranian origin. And the guy was full of knowledge. I mean, that guy was a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I went to different guests. We invited more and more and more. And everyone who came and talked, people used to criticize me, say, hey, look, he's pushing his points and ideas. I said, that's exactly what I want. I want to give their own ideas, their own points of view, not mine.
Yeah.
I'm inviting them to hear from them.
It's a forum.
Yeah.
And they kept talking. I kept talking for almost 13, 14 years. I used to run that show. And I have a library of all those recordings of my guests. And most of them I put in YouTube. And then at the end, everybody understood. And one Armenian guy calls me, true story. He says, Paun Hamlet, I found out that you are going to stop your program. I said, yeah, it was in 2013. I'm getting kind of tired and getting tired of paying too for the program.
Yeah, this isn't for free.
Yeah, he said, but then who's going to teach Armenian to my kids? I said, you're going to have to take them to school.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were sitting there by the TV and listening Armenian.
Yeah.
So that's how they used to learn. I mean, we have given a lot of education, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Not only how to write and read, but how to think. When you think Armenian, you become a different person.
But don't you think it's time for Armenians, especially, we have wealthy Armenians here, to invest into high quality production, documentaries, docuseries, even episodes that, really tell the truth about our history and, shot in a very professional way. And I also think it should be in English because it should resonate to not just Armenians.
Sure.
It takes you back.
Yeah.
It's almost like reverse engineering.
Like I always say, I am stumped that, especially nowadays, we have so many producers, directors that are in Hollywood that aren't even script writers. It's about writing the script.
Zelian, my God, Oscar.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
I just, it's time. I think it's time to do this now.
Let me say something. It was time in 1950s when professor of politics in Beirut American University, J. Michael Hagopian quit his professor job, teaching job, and started filming documentary movies about the Armenian history and Armenian genocide and all that. When in 1990 he was ready to film a documentary movie about Ararat ascent, I got to know him very close, and I visited him many times. And then I got to understand what kind of a giant of a man that guy was. He lived until 97. And then he had, I don't know, 30, 40 documentaries about Armenian history and genocide. Yeah, he gave it all to Shock Foundation for Preservation. It's there now. And after all this stuff, we come up with a movie Promise. I mean, come on. That's the best we can do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, the Promise was, they did their best. Obviously, there was a lot of politics involved. We had Carla Garabetyan, who was one of the producers, and she talked about how Hush Hush, this whole thing was filmed because of the pressure from Turkey and everything. And Hollywood has always been weak when it comes to politics. You have someone, a powerful country, come in, start threatening, they cave right away. I mean, there's so much involved. So I don't think it's
who's funding them.
Yeah, well, of course, we know who's funding them, but it was at least something. It did something. It wasn't enough, but it's a start. Like, for example, they're shooting the Telerians movie right now, big production. But because it has to be Hollywood-like, they're shooting it from the point of view of the lawyer, not actually Telerian. So there's these tricks they use to get away with it, to be able to do it in Hollywood. But put all that stuff aside. I want stories told from, from Urartu. Go in there and all that information, that book that's sitting right there. If this book was turned into, if you guys can see this book right here.
By the way, written by Piotrovsky, a Russian Jew, who didn't...
What year is this?
Oh, pretty old. Printed in Geneva in 60s. In early 60s, I think. I went through that book 2-3 times. I have walked on every rock that he has pictures of in the book.
So if you were to take this book and take all the information and write a great docuseries, multiple episodes, let it be 10, 20, whatever, and shoot it the right way. I watch a lot of docuseries on whatever channel that I can, or Netflix, or whatever, and the way they tell it. And I am obsessed with that show, The Ottoman, which is on Netflix, and it is told like there's actual historians sitting and talking, and then they show a movie of what they're talking about, and it's shot amazing. With Constantine and everything, how the Ottomans came and took over. Like, I want that. I want that about Armenian, different kingdoms, different eras, I just think it's time, and I think we should start investing our money in this type of stuff versus just stupid materialistic things.
Well, that's the smart thing to do. But again, talk to the capitalists about that. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm really not. I'm being a realist.
But we have enough. We have enough investors, wealthy Armenians.
But again, look at all the. This is coming from a former movie buff. I've told you I don't watch any of that stuff anymore. It's been like a few years, but it was the same content, even in the American market. It was the same thing over and over again, dressed in a different way. But these people were still pumping money into it.
Yeah,
they're not changing the content. They're redressing the content. So I ask you this, the realistic approach, unfortunately, still stuck in Hollywood today, is still that, unfortunately. Until you don't come up with content that wows people, that about history.
That book right there.
I understand that. And I'm not, and again, by the way, I'm not trying to be a pessimist about this.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking the reality side of Hollywood. This is the way they think.
We need to break that.
They're looking for dollars. They're not looking for good content. If they're numbers.
The talented scriptwriters we have can take this book and turn it into dollar signs the way it's told the right way.
That's your point. That's your point. Yeah. And what can be done.
Okay. Let me give my 2 cents on that.
Thanks.
I, myself being a former Armenian from Armenia and now Armenian American for last 49 years. Watched a lot of Hollywood stuff from the beginning until now. Unfortunately, Hitler's propaganda minister Goebbels said that if you tell the same lie for many times, they'll believe you. Because the human being takes the garbage without filtering it, without analyzing it. If he likes it, if that lie is wrapped up in a nice shiny paper, he will take it, he will eat it. And after 6th or 7th time, it is gone.
Yeah.
You can't change his mind anymore.
Yeah.
So what has to be done is the perception, number one, which comes after you present it. After the presentation comes the perception. You have to present your case so solidly that it can be unbreakable. It will not take any doubts or any criticism. Let me be more specific. There are so many good stories and so many good things, events in our history that will blow your mind.
Of course.
If we could take them, like you said, put them together, make a nice moving line of good events. Everybody in every business, you get paid when you continue and finish the chain of events. You got to do things to get paid at the end. So the same goes with the movie. You got to create chain of events, bring a lot of good stuff, and just keep pumping, like Michael Agopian did his 35, 40 documentary movies. All of that is now history. It's all there. It can't be thrown away or denied. So in other words, take that, take other stuff, put it together, give the idea to some great Armenian screenwriter that we have, and convince the money guys, look,
that's the problem.
You have the money now. Do you think that money is going to take you to heaven or is going to take you to money heaven? So put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where the nation will remember you as somebody. Like Solomon is being remembered like God because he did something.
Absolutely.
Do something.
Absolutely.
One very quick before we go. When we came
We're
down,
not going anywhere. So we're here for 4 hours.
I'm used to my short television time.
No, there's no commercial breaks. We can take bathroom breaks if you want, but
no. On TV, my time has been always limited. That's why I had to talk fast.
No.
When we came back,
We're not even an hour in. Keep going.
When we came down from Ararat and we got arrested by the Turks, and after 12 hours of interrogation, one guy got really sick and tired. He goes, "Listen, why did you come to Turkey?" I said, "We told you before, we came here to climb Ararat." He goes, "Aren't there any mountain in America?" I said, "Yeah, there is one even higher. McKinley is even higher than Ararat." He goes, "But then why can't you come here? What you lost here is a Turkish mind, you know?"
Yes.
I said, "Listen, I told you a minute ago that we came to climb Ararat, not a mountain."
yeah.
He goes, "What's Ararat to you?" I said, "Listen, my friend."
Oh boy.
My friend, I have to explain to you a little bit more detail. Remember 3 hours ago you asked me where your ancestors are from? I said, I'm Karsetsi. You know, my grandparents are from Kars. And you told me that your grandparents are also from Kars, right? He goes, yeah, right. So what is Kars to you? He goes, my birthplace. I said, so is mine. If you didn't kick our butt, we would have been friends in Kars today.
Yeah.
And Ararat is something that every Armenian dreams about. He goes like this. I don't understand you Armenians. I said, Efendim, I gotta be honest with you. I don't understand them either. Well, you shut up for a few minutes.
Before I ask the next question, I really want to tap into that story of you and you climbing Mount Ararat. I know there's actually a documentary, and everybody.
Michael Agopian's documentary.
Yeah, if you guys go on YouTube and search, not right now, after the show, go on YouTube and search under Hamlet Nersesian. You have your own.
Ararat Beckons.
Ararat Beckons, that's the name. It's under your channel. And watch it. It's translated in English.
And Armenian.
There's the Armenian version?
Yeah, there's the Armenian version.
Well, I could hear the Armenian in the background, and then I was trying to find the Armenian version, but
there is Armenian version. I don't know how to help you find it.
Okay, we'll find
it's
it.
there.
But it's there. So I actually I prefer the audience to watch the English version,
version.
so they can see it. But again, Ararat Beckons, that's what it's called. Watch it. It's really good. But
Narration done by Mike Connors.
yeah. It was 1986, correct?
85, 86. We climbed. In 86 we climbed,
Yeah.
but the film was done in 90.
First of all, I want to thank everybody who is joining us. We appreciate it on a Thursday night, and thank you for the questions. Well, if you have any questions, ask. We'll later on answer them for you. But yeah, if you can kind of talk about that experience. Like, first of all, what made you take on this adventure as a young man? And
the way it went with my history search, like accidentally run into it, but the idea with Ararat is not accidental at all. The thing is that everyone who is born, especially in Yerevan, and every young boy who has looked up and seen the mountain,
It's always
from
there.
his backyard, or especially like me from the roof of his house. My father had a 2-story house. I used to get up there and look.
yeah,
And then we started hiking along Armenia, everywhere in the countryside and everything. The conversation was all around Ararat all the time.
Yeah.
You go climb the ruins of Arartian
Yeah.
Erebuni.
I've been up there a couple
when you go
times.
up on top of Erebuni, you look, you see Ararat again. I mean, since childhood, all you see is Mount Ararat. And then if you have any desire of climbing it, and you start thinking about it, right? And then... I got to tell you one small story, which is really interesting.
Tell me more, because I'm going to do this. I told you before we started the show, I'm going. It's one of my lifelong challenges. I need to climb that mountain. It's going to happen.
1983, I read in New York Times, I used to live in New York, that Turkey is going to commemorate 100th anniversary of Atatürk.
Yeah.
And then they are going to open up the touristic roads, like for tourists, all the way to Kars and the eastern regions. And a thought came to me. I said, listen, Hamlet, go to their tourist office, talk to them. I'm like a pain in the neck,
Yeah.
I went to their tourist office, which is right across the street from United Nations building, in their Turkish mission to the United Nations, 3rd or 4th floor. I went up there. I'm here. I want to see somebody from, your tourist office. What can we do for you? I said, I just heard that you are going to commemorate Atatürk's 100th anniversary, and you are opening up the roads all the way to Kars.
Yeah.
She goes, the secretary, why you want to go to Kars? I said, well, to be honest with you, my grandparents are from Kars. I want to go and visit those areas and, get to know.
Mm-hmm.
This woman looked at my face like she had seen an alien just land on the floor, in front of their office, She called the boss. The boss came. What can I do for you? I said, look, to be honest with you, I'm an Armenian guy. Here's my passport. I'm an American citizen. And I want to travel to Kars because my grandparents are from Kars. He looked at my face, a diplomat. He found that he's got a good case. He turned around, he told this woman, this Turkish young lady sitting there, listen, ladies, this man, look at the passport, Hamlet, this man, Hamlet, is my friend. Every time he walks into this office, you help him, okay? And this woman she froze. He says, where you want to go? I said, I want to go to Kars. No problem. Come to talk to them. They'll give you a visa. You travel to Kars.
Wow.
I came home and I told my friends and I told my wife. Everybody was laughing at me. He says, Hamlet, come on, cut that B out.
Yeah.
I said, this is the truth, man. I don't know why that guy did that. But doing that, he gave that thought to my head that it's maybe possible.
Yeah.
In 85, 2 years later, in same New York Times, I read a big article. Ararat is now open. Here you go. I took the newspaper and I ran to my friend. I said, listen, Ararat is open. February something issue.
Of 85.
85, New York Times. And I showed to my friends. And who is doing it? Who is organizing it? Trek Travel from United States organization.
Yeah.
And I called up this Trek Travel. Hey, you guys, you're going to take groups to Turkey to climb Ararat? He goes, yeah. We are organizing the groups already. And I ran all the way to New Jersey to my friend Masis Barseghian and his son. We made a big meeting. I said, listen, guys, you got to come. And I started advertising everybody I knew. You know why I wanted to get as many people as possible?
Yeah.
Insurance policy. If I go there,
They take in the whole group.
the whole group.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the way it worked. And when we got arrested at the end, Masis pulled up his wallet. You're calling me a terrorist? He's telling the Turk. He looks like William Saroyan copy. You see the movie, you'll know.
Okay.
You're calling me a terrorist? Look. He's showing his cards.
Yeah.
I am a Mason, Freemason. I got this card from police department for this event, whatever. And I got this one from the headquarters of the New Jersey Police Department. Police. You calling me terrorist? This Turk was shocked. So what I'm trying to tell you, that insurance policy actually worked. And Masis were like 7 brothers and all of them multimillionaires. Masis is still alive. I love him. He's such a great man. I call him every month. We talk. I was at his 90th birthday a few years ago back in New Jersey.
Wow. God bless him.
And we had a big party. I'll show you his picture in a minute. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is sometimes the small things that you don't pay too much attention eventually turn out to save your life.
Yeah.
We were all with one foot in a jail. I mean, if they wanted to send us to jail, they could have.
Of course.
Who was going to find out what happened to these idiots, you know?
Yeah.
And then we went back. We were allowed to go back to the hotel in Agri.
Well, let's go back. The climb. Let's talk about the climb.
Yeah,
What took, like, how long did it take? How did you guys end up there? And
when I found out about this trip, we talked about that trip with the trek travel, and then 1985 we did 1985. I'm sorry, 85. We came to travel to Turkey with a big group, which were like 11 Americans and 4 Armenian Americans.
Yeah.
And we traveled. We came all the way through Tavros Mountains in the south, and I came through the central Turkey, and I came all the way to Erzurum, Kars, came to the mountain, sat in a hotel lobby, and our translator comes running. You know, guys, I have a bad news. What happened? So Kurds have robbed the tourists on the mountain. So there was a group on the mountain, and the Kurds had robbed them. That day started so-called Kurdish revolution against Turkey, 1985, July 29. Now, so what are we going to do? Nothing. The government has sent army after the Kurdish rebels to catch them, whatever. So we sat there for a day. Our leader contacted, there was a group there. James Irving, astronaut, was sitting there in a lobby also with his friends, like 20 people and a lot of $20,000 worth of equipment to find the Noah's Ark.
Yeah, Noah's Ark.
So he was sitting there in the lobby with us.
Yeah.
So he called the Turkish president. At that time, the president was Evren, something like that. He said, forget it. The army is already on a mountain. We can't do anything about it. So we went to travel in nearby villages, and then eventually we ended up in Khachkar Mountains, which is the mountains between the Black Sea and Erzurum.
Yes.
Hamshen. So we spent the rest of the days that were supposed to be on a mountain, we spent traveling around. So we did not get to climb in 85. So we came to Istanbul, and they threw a party for us. And I told this organizer, the head guy of the trek travel, I said, listen, you brought us all the way over here. You gave us the salad, but we didn't see the main course.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? He goes, don't worry. Next year, you come back, you'll climb. I said, next year is a year from now.
Oh my God.
So next year again, we paid the fees, $800 per
again?
person,
Again.
again. And this time we went only 3 of us, Masis, his son, and me. I said, we're not going to bother with the rest of the group because who knows what will happen.
Well, you already got your insurance policy that worked a year from before.
Yeah. And now we just went to the mountain, and we were lucky. There was no rebels or whatever, Kurds running around nearby. So we were able to have 2 Turkish guides and 3 of us We went all the way. By the way, on a mountain, on a 14,000 feet level, we ran into some Japanese guys. They were from Japan climbing the mountain.
God.
So we had fun. We had good time with Japanese. And one small item that I got to bring, I always teased it with this, my friend Masis. We were playing portable tableau, backgammon.
Yeah.
We keep playing, and Masis is very good in a level area in his New Jersey. But he kept losing to me. He looks at my face, gets mad, says, I don't believe this. I'm the champion of New Jersey. How come I'm losing to
Maybe
you?
it's the oxygen.
I said, Masis, you're missing the oxygen, man. I said, maybe I can operate on less oxygen.
It's not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Nope. Not at all.
We had fun, in the
So as you guys climbed, and after coming down, why'd you guys get arrested? What was the reason?
when we just started climbing, Masis' son Greg had a relaxed moment, and he asked the Kurdish shepherd that were loading our stuff on our horses, are there any Armenian historical monuments here or anything value? And this guy ran to the gendarmes and told them that these Armenians are looking for something here. They're looking for gold or something.
Oh my God.
By the time we come down, go to the hotel, our guide comes running, guys, we have a problem. So what problem? The gendarmes want to see you. What happened? I don't know. Let's go there and we find out. And then we go, we spend all day in gendarmes. And the funny thing is that building was just recently built.
Yeah. And
on top of the building said the office for fight with terrorists, Kaçak in Turkish, against, there was nobody in the goddamn building. Nobody.
Yeah.
It was just us. And they finally got somebody to talk to.
how long? Okay, now I guess I have some interesting questions about that. I mean, how long did the ascent take?
It depends on the level of the climbers.
Okay.
When you start from the hotel, they take you on a truck or car to the 1700 meters level. On the 1700 meters.
So that's basically like base camp.
Yeah, it's like what,
More or less.
3,000 feet?
Base camp is on the 3,000
Yeah. 30
feet, 3,500 feet.
3,500 feet.
Somewhere around there.
That's the base camp. You sleep there at night. Very first night you spent at that camp. Second day, you go up to the higher camp, which is about 4,100 meters, which is 14,000 feet.
Yeah.
So you spent the second night at 14,000
That's a drastic
feet.
change from.
Well, you're
It
close.
is.
Yeah.
It is, especially when
Yeah.
you climb, you carry a little bit of gear, but the thing is you do not rest because the oxygen gets less and less and less.
Yeah.
If you are a normal person, if you are a climber, a professional, then it doesn't bother you. But second night you spend in a 14,000 feet camp, and then next morning, early in the morning, about 3 or 4 o'clock, you go all the way to the top, spend about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. We spend 40 minutes and come back to that high camp.
Yeah.
And you sleep there and you go all the way down. But in our case, since we were regular mortals, we were not professional climbers, we had hard time in a high camp at a 4,000 meter elevation. I've never been in that high in my life. The highest I have ever been was like 3,800 meters on Aragats. But that was long time ago when I was young. And now I'm 39 years old, excuse me, at that time. And I'm trying to sleep, trying to get rest. There's no way.
There's really.
My heart is beating like 120, 130.
Wow.
It doesn't want to rest. So it wants to get oxygen, wants to rest, right? So what do? I put my rubber pad inside the tent, half of it outside. I stuck my head out of the tent, brought a zipper down to my chest, and I'm looking up, trying to amaze myself with the universe. By looking at the universe, I saw the entire
Milky Way.
Milky Way galaxy going from up down until 4 a.m.
So it was a clear night.
Absolutely clear night.
Oh my God.
By 4 a.m., I'm still awake, and the guide comes and says, guys, we got to go. I said, thank God we have to go because I can't sleep anyway. So I didn't have a minute's sleep at that night because my heart would go down. But that's, again, first time ever on that high altitude. And then we got all the way to the top.
Well, so when are we going?
You have to.
Me?
Hey, when are we going?
I'll probably pass out at the first camp.
Come on, man.
My high blood pressure? Are you kidding me?
No, if you have a high blood pressure,
Yeah,
you got a
okay.
problem.
Oh, okay.
If you want to train for that, you're going to have to climb Mount Whitney at least twice. And the second time, 1 month before climbing Ararat. If you go to Mount Whitney, which is 14,500,
Yeah.
I have done Mount Whitney 8 times.
Whitney is
14 and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. That's in Washington?
Lone Pine here.
Oh no, it's
3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's right. That's
3.5 hours.
The highest I've
I thought,
gone.
isn't Shasta higher than that?
Shasta is not higher than Mount Whitney. Mount Whitney is the highest in continental USA.
In the continental US. Okay.
McKinley is in Alaska.
McKinley's in Alaska. Well, isn't it called Durgali now or I think they renamed it. Yeah.
something.
They
No,
renamed
the
it.
highest I've tested myself how far I can go is 11,000, and I was up in Bishop, and man, I almost passed out.
Lake Sabrina,
Yeah, Sabrina, 11,000, and I was just like, I mean, it took me literally from where I was parked to where we were fishing to the car. It was like baby steps trying to get to the car. Like, it was unbelievable.
There is a lake right above the Lake Sabrina, a little bit higher.
Yeah.
It's called a Long Lake.
Yeah,
I took a picture.
you have to climb to get there. Yeah,
It's
no,
about
I
9,500 feet.
yeah.
Less than 10. When I got to that lake, I fell in love with it. It's a long lake. When I stood on one side and took the picture of the entire lake, the entire clouds, everything was reflecting in that lake, and it became like a beautiful picture. Like professionally done, although I'm not.
Rock Creek is about 9, I think, as well. Have you been to Rock Creek?
No, I have
Rock
not.
Creek is about 9 or 10, I think, somewhere around there. So, but every time I go up towards Sabrina, Rock Creek, it depends on the day too. It's not all the time, but like the last trip was just Rock Creek just killed me. So I had to come down. And if I take my medication, then, and it's not like I take medication for all the time, but it's if I'm up that high, I have to.
You have to.
So, yeah.
Because
Not on an airplane, just something about
the blood pressure is something you can't play with.
Yeah,
You cannot
yeah.
fool with it.
So Ararat's out for me.
Yeah.
We had some
video call.
comments. My mom, who's watching Satanik, she actually in Armenian, she's saying that she used to watch your show and she was sad to see you end your show because it was something that she would follow all the time. So she's actually really excited to see you on our program.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
And then who's this? Artemis.
Search for the book Urartu,
Yeah,
and
she's-
it's over
yeah,
$500 on Amazon.
Yeah,
Are
so
there
that
other
book
books
is going
you
for
can
$500.
recommend that are more affordable?
On Amazon, that's going for $500.
Let me give a little example about these books. Years ago, I had a fantastic book, The Art of Sumer, Sumerian art, the history of Sumer. I paid $300 for it.
Yeah.
I had it in my house, and one nice day, about 10, 12 years ago, a good friend of mine, dear friend of mine, a historian from Armenia, Artak Movsisyan, was visiting us. And we had a big backyard party. And then I showed him the book. He said, "Oh my God, what a book." I said, "Artakjan, you deserve to have it. Nobody else deserves more than you do." I gave it to him. Thank God. 2 years after that, I started searching and searching and searching. I can't find the damn book. It disappeared, right? 3 years ago, I sold the house, somebody's house. And then I'm walking through the house. The first thing I look for is the books.
Yeah.
What kind of books they have? I am walking through the books. I'm walking and then see the history of Sumer, history of Iran, history of Assyria, standing next to each other. I asked the trustee, the guy who inherited the house, I said, "What you gonna do with all this stuff?" Because, we're gonna have open house and we're gonna sell all that stuff Saturday morning, 9 a.m. I said, "How about the books?" "Oh yeah, those two." He had no idea what the books were. Saturday morning, 8:30, I'm standing there in front of the sales lady. And my wife is watching what I'm doing. She doesn't want to allow me to spend $300 each book. She thinks I'm spending $300 out of the books. And then when my turn came, I said, "Lady, I got these books here, about 5 of them." What?
Yeah.
I said, "I would like to have these 5 books. How much?" She goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $10. I have them all sitting in my book. Every day I pass by and I look at those books. One of my friends, Iranian guy, he goes, Iran, that history of Iran. Oh, my father would love that book. I said, I love it too. And then when I open the history of Iran, the history of culture of Iran,
Yeah.
open it up, it says all originated from Urartu.
Yep.
And a writer of the book is not Armenian, is not Russian, is not Persian, French, a professor of history and art wrote the book. Can you imagine? You got to find somebody else's books, everybody else's, to prove your point. So you prove your point with someone else, not yourself.
That actually leads me into the next question, which is going to be our topic at tomorrow's event, is why and how is Armenian history being falsified? Is it falsified due to politics? What is it about our history that they are falsifying so like intensely?
What's the end game of the
Yeah.
falsification?
I'll tell you. I'm going to go slow on this one.
Yes. You guys ready?
Okay. Now, what does Urartu mean? Nothing. There has never been a country by that name, Urartu. There was a country called Ararat. Since in a cuneiform, it is RRT. In between, they fill in the vowels, which creates a word. In old Sumerian and Armenian and Assyrian cuneiform writings, there is no vowel. It's only consonants.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, consonants. And these so-called Assyriologists, Assyriagetner, they take the existing writings and they fix them up the way they like it.
Yeah.
Mr. Piotrovsky, in early 60s, to create a new country, invented a new name, Urartu. If he was honest, if he was truthful to the history, he would have written Ararat.
Yeah.
That's why Armenian historian Sheikh Shhanyan goes, it's the Araratian kingdom of Van, not Urartu,
Yeah.
Araratian kingdom. Because Edgar Cayce says, Rata went to the country of Ararat, talked to him, he gave his son Ararat.
Arata. Yeah.
It's all based on that word.
Yeah.
Ar-at.
Yeah.
R is the very first word. The makers of civilization, they had, let me go back a little bit. In a language, when God created us, I don't know how they did it, I don't know when they did that, but when the humanoid, Homo sapiens, me, you, us, were created based on the Homo erectus. It was a white or other colors, straight walking animals that were without logic. When the Banakanutsun, when the wisdom was given to us, we became Homo sapiens, started thinking.
Yeah.
See, make sense.
Yeah.
That time, you need what? You need ability to speak and communicate with others like you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you and he is him, and that's
Yeah.
it. The communication requires language, communication skills. So when the communication skills come, you start making sounds with your mouth, and you start creating syllables. And then you put the syllables next to each other, you create words, and you put the words next to each other, you create a sentence.
Yeah.
And then the sentences create a story. Now, at the very origin, maybe Sumerians mentioned 300,000 years ago, when we became Homo sapiens, we needed this language. So we started talking. We created words. The very first sounds that humans made, all those vowels were made first. And then the consonants came along, and then we created words. R is breaking sounds and words and everything, minimizing.
Also, if you say R, the way it rolls your tongue.
R,
You know, or R, the R. You know, it's a powerful sound.
Of course it is. Every sound in Armenian language has a purpose and meaning. Recently, a friend of mine wrote a thick book about Armenian language, how the language and pronunciation, all those comes from universe,
Yeah.
breaking down, like how the information comes to us.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a little distraction here. The knowledge, the universal knowledge, the universal consciousness comes from the universe into the human being. It enters into Armenian word meat. Meat is matanel, matnel, meat.
Yeah, meat.
Matnuma
Yeah.
outside your karma or whatever that is outside of your head. And then from there on, it penetrates into your physical body, into your brain.
Yeah.
Your brain is the physical part of the body. So when antenna, the brain is the antenna, takes it in, and then he has to,
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
and then eat the brain or brains. They have to, since there are two of them, right?
Yeah.
Left and right. So they have to,
At least we're told.
yeah,
We'd like to think.
we were led to believe.
Yeah.
So those two brains have to send out that information that they received.
Yeah.
So everything in life, if you receive something, you got to give out.
Yeah.
You can't keep. So you send out the information through audio, video, kinesthetic means of communication.
Yeah.
So when you send all of that out, it goes to somebody else. So that somebody else takes that information
Puts it back out.
and then he gives it to someone else, blah, blah, and then continues on and on and on. But the main key is that that information comes from universe. I didn't create it. You didn't create anything.
Yeah.
We have not created anything. It's the global knowledge and the energy that contains, like that rule of physics, that nothing gets lost. The entire energy is constant. It doesn't change. It just changes the form from one form to another.
Yeah.
So that's how we operate, all of us. Whatever you take in is that what you gave out.
Yeah.
So that's why you gotta play the role of the filter. You take something, you filter it, you analyze it, you throw away the garbage, you keep the so-called truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they wanted to, we went too far away, they wanted to create a new country to cut the possibility of Armenians to claim that country was Armenia before.
Yeah.
So they created a new country, Urartu. In Soviet historian books, Urartu was not Armenia.
Really?
And then they had to accept that it was on the territory of Western Armenia,
Armenian Highlands.
Armenian
yeah.
Highland. Why? The main $1 million question.
Question.
$1 million question.
Yeah.
Why is it that way? Have you ever heard somebody attack Mongolia or, that country that Chukmeks live in?
Yeah. No.
I mean, they praise Genghis Khan and his adventures and all that stuff.
Is the ancestor of Genghis Khan. So in South Africa, in central South Africa, British attacked in 1860s, 70s in the country, Boers and all that. There was one reason. They had gold. They killed about 1 million of Boers and got their gold.
It's always been the case.
And the British guy, Rhodes, created a new country that later was called Rhodesia after himself,
Rhodesia, yeah.
after Rhodes. They got all that money and they transferred it, siphoned it about to England. Same thing goes with everywhere else.
Yeah.
They go, they rob, they take their wealth and everything, and they leave, and they leave trash behind. Why so much attack and so much hatred towards Armenian people and our country? Very simple. They want our land, they want our genes, they want our wealth, physical wealth, gold, silver, and the rest, and your mental wealth. Anywhere the Armenian guy goes, he does something right.
Yeah.
He becomes somebody
Successful somehow.
because it's built in your genes.
Yeah.
I don't care how much they suppress him, he does something.
Yeah. Because we're builders.
All the way up to astronaut. We have Armenian astronaut too, by the way.
Yeah.
So they wanted everything that we had. In the Middle Ages, the Queen of Armenia used to keep control of the gold.
Yeah.
So she was running the gold
Treasure.
gold
She was a
industry.
treasure.
Yeah.
Gold industry. And the funny thing is, when Tigranes was out in Egypt fighting over there south, and Lucullus, Roman general, came he knew Tigranes was gone, and he wanted to rob Tigranakert with all the wealth.
Yeah.
So he attacks Tigranakert, and he was able to bribe the outsides, the guards.
Yep.
They were Greeks. So he got in, but he was not able to get into the middle, Mishnabert, the center where
Yeah.
the king's family and wealth was. He couldn't get in there. So what happened? Tigran comes, he hits right straight ahead, gets in, gets his family, his wealth, comes out. They lost about 6,000 or so people, but they were eventually
That's war.
everything out.
Yeah.
Why Lucullus was spending his weekend in Tigranakert? Why didn't he go to Africa?
Yeah.
Maybe there was a lot more wealth in Tigranakert than in Africa.
In Africa.
That's why he attacked. They always go for your gold, your wealth, your people, your mental capacity, and your genes.
But why Armenians? Again, you like.
Maybe we don't know, but they do know.
I mean, there's other cultures who have
Yeah, but
wealth as well. Like,
I get what he's saying.
No,
There's something about the dawn, let's call it the dawn of civilization, organized civilization that we were.
that's what I'm trying to get at. Why Armenians? The gold and everything, I know, but it's because I personally think is because we were the first civilized culture in that region.
Look, we've talked about it. We very well, we talked about it. Vaughn, you and I have had discussions
All
about
the
it.
secrets.
We very well could have been Mesopotamia.
Between two rivers is called Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
You know,
Very well
again,
could have been.
I just said maybe we don't know, but they do know very well.
I agree.
3 years ago, I was at a conference of this old civilizations type of things. It's called CPAC. I was there for the, I don't know, nth time, and I met with Graham Hancock, Scottish.
Oh, really?
Very
Yeah,
well-known
I know
guy.
Graham. Yeah.
And I said, Mr. Hancock, I just don't understand. How come you have been in Armenia again for the third time? What takes you back there? You know, I'm just kind of with the sarcasm. He goes, come over here. He picked up the phone from my hands and gave it to his friend. He said, take our picture. He took the picture together, him and me. I'm trying to show you that.
Graham Hancock's
goes,
a good listen.
Oh, very nice man.
Yeah.
He goes, listen, you don't know. You have the cradle of civilization there. I said, Mr. Hancock, I do know. Maybe they don't know.
Yeah, they're not going to talk
Yeah.
about it.
But I do. And then we talked a lot about the stuff. He had a lecture, to do. But what I'm trying to say is, world famous scientists are finally, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, finally blowing the cover of this falsehoods.
Yeah.
They're blowing it up.
Yeah.
Now, the guy has 15 books on it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, for the last 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 years, basically every school, I mean, even our parents
Yes.
have learned, as we were mentioning earlier, Roman and Hellenistic history as being the main bringers of democracy and everything that we have civilized in the current world, right?
Yes.
If they were to start backtracking on that, that's going to be a big problem. Now, do you think that's one of the issues?
One of the issues.
Yeah, it has
One
to
of
be
them.
one of the issues, right? Because now they're backtracking on something that's been going on for, I don't know, better part, maybe a century, 2 centuries, maybe more.
The lie is going to blow up on their face.
Exactly.
Now, let me remind you that Heinrich Schliemann, the guy who excavated Troy, said, for some reason, all the scientists are looking for the beginning of the history in Greece. They have to come to the Asia Minor and look for
Yeah,
the
they're
history
looking in
in
the wrong
Armenia.
place. Yeah.
Heinrich Schliemann, not me. German guy, That's one of the pieces of the story. But again, these big scientists are finally coming to face the truth, and they are writing books, like I said. There are so many books. I mean, this guy, Waddell, wrote the book in 1929, writing the truth about the Armenia and Sumer and India. At that time, word R was not prohibited. It was not taboo. You see,
Yeah,
the word
yeah.
R, Aryans,
Yeah.
it's writing it very clearly in the book. 29. Hitler was not around yet. Hitler came and ruined the word and everything associated with that word. The funny thing is, I want to just give you one quick input on that. This is Moses.
Oh wow. Well, I've seen the documentary,
Yeah.
so I can't show it on the screen because it won't show, but
Cool.
So
big in the mustache.
in 1920s, the word Ar and Aryan was very well accepted. So the scientists and historians would write about it. But later on comes Mr. Hitler and ruins everything. And then he asks his scientists surroundings to find out who are the true Aryans.
Yeah.
And then Armenian historians go along, and Asatarian and Ajemian, and they write scientific research, and they tell him the Armenians are the first Aryans.
You know, really interesting. We're talking about this. People I work with in my industry, non-Armenians, of course, got into this conversation about the swastika symbol and whatnot. And I dropped some knowledge, obviously. They're like, oh, yeah, you know, we've heard about that, whatever. Not that they're stupid. It just, they don't know.
They don't know.
And so I actually brought that up. I'm like, you know, we were a part of the Aryan race. It's just during that time, World War II, they completely ruined that word.
Yeah. And
when
the swastika.
But before I said the Germans, the Nazis ruined that word and has now somewhat has this vilification to it.
Yeah.
Okay. You should have seen, and I was on a video call.
Yeah.
You should have seen both of their faces. They had this weird, apprehensiveness.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, Armenians are, I'm like, guys, relax. Like, it's not what you think. This is ancient things that were ruined 70, 80 years ago.
Yeah. By one man.
But even by historians who have gone along with certain narratives.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just one man.
On the petroglyphs that are 15, 20,000 years old,
Oh yeah.
this that sign, both ways, left and right,
absolutely.
are all over the place. Ansvartnos, for God's sake.
They have it in Glendale.
Yeah.
Even have it in Glendale on the light posts.
You know what they did recently? Somebody came and blocked it with some black
Yeah. I heard about that. Yeah. Come on.
idiotism. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was interesting. It was really interesting to bring that up to them. You know, it was they have no clue. They have no clue. They've learned one thing, and I hate to say it, I can't blame them.
No, they don't know. See, when they are brainwashed in one direction,
100%.
it's very difficult to break that stereotype.
Absolutely.
That's why you got to keep telling the story, the truth, and bring them lots of facts. On rocks. That's why Vic Nersesian, you would say to me, Hamlet John, I would believe in something that is written in 3 places and on the rocks carved that are older than 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So they have not been ruined or falsified.
You know, I was having a conversation with a friend who hopefully will be a guest when we come back for season 3. And he was talking about how, you know, we started talking about Hike and Bell and all this, and, you know, how it could be a myth and this and that. But, you know, he brought up a good point that it's not a myth.
No, the story of Ball is or Bell or Ball, however,
Well,
you know,
the
from
story of
Babylon.
Hike.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
but even okay. So to add to your point before you continue, the story of Ball or Bell is not a false story.
No. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about the Hike. Some people say the Hike story is a myth and this and that. And
It's not.
And he mentioned something that, you know, us Armenians have, you know, in the Jewish culture, they believe in it, right? That's the story. That's where, you know, everything started, and that's how it's going to be in Babylon. You know, but us Armenians, when it comes to Hike, we question it. We don't believe it the way they do. We don't fight for it the way
It's an
they
interesting
do.
point. You're right.
And I started thinking, he's right.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, we turned it into a myth instead of, no, this is the truth. We are the descendants of Hike. And this is something that needs to be taught throughout schools and our children to believe. And I mean, a lot of that has to do with obviously Christianity kind of, you know, pushing us away from it. And then I recently started watching the show Vikings. And on season 2, and there's a scene which I didn't even realize I missed where I I forget the king's name. He's an English king.
The king of Essex.
Yeah, and he's talking to the
I
pagan.
remember. Yeah.
And he's when he mentions that, before Christianity, all the pagan is asking him, why are you so involved? Why do you want to know about paganism so much? And he says, because, and he's collected all these ruins from Roman and Greek and Sumerian and all this stuff, right? He has all these collections. He's guarding them. He's the king of England. And he's saying, do you see all this? He shows it to Ben. You see all this? He's like, the stuff that's here, you can never, ever learn in this lifetime now of what they did, the things they created, the technology they had. And the pagan looks at it and he's like in awe. And he's a pagan. He doesn't even know, you know? And I feel like it's the same thing with us. We've abandoned under this label of paganism, that because that was bad for some reason, and we use that to abandon our prehistory or pre-Christian history, which is so important.
Okay.
There's so much involved in there. And this is, again, I keep saying it, when we say Christian, Armenians for some reason lose their minds and go, oh, no, Christianity. No. This is not about that. This is about our history pre-Christianity and what knowledge. And when people say, Christianity gave us, brought us to.
There's that whole argument.
That whole argument that, made us civilized in the set. It's like, what? So
Not
before that, we
no.
weren't civilized, So I'm not going to get into it, but that's my argument that, anyways, go on. Sorry.
Let me, my understanding the way, why things happened the way you said that happened. Why do Jewish people believe in whatever their rabbis are telling them? They take it as
gospel.
Gospel.
Yeah.
Haladiyuch. Armenians, whatever we are told, we doubt.
Until someone else from the outside confirms it.
Confirms otherwise.
Otherwise, yeah.
Now, let's put it this way. Do we know whether or not before 300 there was a country called Armenia, Metzhaik? There was. We had kings, we had armies, we used to fight around, conquer areas and whatever, good or bad. We did have a country.
Yes.
So these people had some kind of belief system.
Yeah.
Which was Mihirakanutun, Mithraism.
Yeah, Mithraism.
Mithraism, Mihirakanutun. It comes from Armenia. Mihir means sun. It's the worship of sun.
Yeah.
We worshipped sun as a source of life.
Yeah.
Persians changed a little bit. They worshipped fire as a source of life. So fire, but the fire is sun, the same thing. They changed a little bit because of their religious book and stuff. But let's put them aside. Let's remember about ours. Now, if Mithraism was strong enough that King Tigran would appoint his brother as a head Mog,
Bishop, or something like that.
head of the
Magi or
Mithraism
whatever.
religion.
Yeah.
He was the head, his brother.
Yeah.
So he knew it was so important for the people, their belief system,
Yeah.
their spiritual belief system was
course,
so important. I don't care if you call it a gray, brown, red, or whatever. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same belief system. You can call in so many different ways. Indians have different ways of explaining it. Arabs have a different way. We have a different. Native Americans worship differently.
Yeah.
Does that eliminate the possibility of human spirit or human soul or God or whatever? It's the same system, different names.
Yeah.
My name is Hamlet, yours may be different. My brother's name was different. But it doesn't change anything. We are humans, we are, let's say, Armenian, whatever. But we have to understand that putting difference between the religions only creates
Separation
and division and animosity.
Yeah.
In Middle Ages, when people talk about Inquisition, what was the Inquisition all about? The French king and his pope wanted the rest of the folks to obey them and pay them the money. But these folks over there, they didn't want to follow up with this Catholic system of the religion, and they had their own mechanism or their own
Yeah.
belief system, which was called Qatar sect. These Qatar people came from Bulgaria, those who came from Armenia.
Yeah.
So through their journey for several hundred years, Tondraketis and all the rest of the guys, it was all wars between people. And eventually they became Bogomils in Bulgaria and they became Qatars in South France. These Qatars called their leaders perfetti, like perfect people. In Armenian, Qatarial means perfect.
Qatarial, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the same sect of people that believed in God in different way. Let's give you an example much simpler than that. Have you heard about the Gnostics?
Of course.
They used to be the first Christians in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they also accepted Christianity, but they did not agree with the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there was a war between Catholic Church and Gnostics.
And the Gnostics.
Now, the Catholic Church said, you have to believe in God the way we do. How does the Catholic Church believe in God? Blind faith.
Yep.
Gnostics said, no, hold on. We believe in God our way.
Yeah.
Gnostic said, I will believe in God and get one with God. In other words, I'll get the same in Him, into Him,
Yeah.
or get one unified with God only through reading and knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't read. You can't become educated. There is
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
You have to believe
Good
in
old
God
Catholic Church.
only through blind faith.
Yeah.
Now,
Good
here we go. Gnostics.
Yeah.
War after
Yalla.
war after war.
Yeah, well, the good old Catholic Church.
The Gnostics were almost wiped out.
Yeah.
Let me add to that. What do you think about the concept that the Armenian Apostolic Church, the way Armenians claim that they practice Christianity the true original way how the 12 apostles did it, and that there is the right way, the way they pray, the way they do their Sunday church and everything. What would you say to that? That theirs is the right way? The reason I ask you is because, again, you brought it up. Like, every Catholics believe this way. I mean, it's the same branch belief, but different branches.
Okay.
But what do you make to that claim?
How do you like to eat the shish kebab? The first one from this end, or the second one from that end? I mean, I believe in God my way, and my way is the right way.
Yes, Mikit Sochov.
Now, how does the Indian guy believe in God? Oh, he will prove you for 3 days that he's right. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. You believe in God the way you believe, as long as you do believe.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in God, then I don't care what kind of religion you have.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Like, let me give you an interesting example. Victor Hambartsumian was a world famous astrophysicist.
Yeah.
He was the head of the International Astrophysicist Organization, right? When he was asked about religion and being Armenian or not, he told this priest, I think it was, he said, listen, I am an atheist. Does that make me that I'm not an Armenian? Victor Hambartsumian's words.
Yeah.
Just because I'm an
it's a legitimate
atheist.
question.
Yeah.
I don't believe in your God or your way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your way. But I believe in universe. For God's sake, the universe is created by whom? By God. As you're saying universe was created by God, right? So I'm studying universe for God's sake.
I'm studying God.
Huh? So in my way, maybe a little bit different.
On your show, you're not used to these mics.
No, we don't have mics like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to put my hands down. So what so-called atheists saying that, look, we believe in God our way. I believe in God, and I believe that universe was created by God. Who was God? Was a man, or was a creature? Was a explosion? Was a black hole? Where was it? I don't know. If I knew, I would have told you, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's why, as long as you do believe, you're fine. Just because that makes your soul clean and rest.
Yeah.
Don't fight with anything or anybody.
Yeah. Don't be arrogant about it.
No.
Yeah.
Just because one priest says one way, another priest says another way, another rabbi says different way,
Yeah.
it doesn't give us right to kill each other.
Yeah. By the way, Vahan Setyan is joining us.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you tomorrow. Gonna be a good show. You want to read that comment from Audis?
Yeah. So Audis says, since you mentioned Graham Hancock, could you possibly discuss Göbekli Tepe and if there's any connection to Armenia?
Of course.
I love that question, by the way.
Thank you, Audis.
Now it's easier than before.
Before, of course.
Since a lot of information came along. In 19, I'm coming a little bit from the further, but it will illuminate the story. In 1940, 41, Edgar Casey sat in his chair and said, go to the Chicago archaeologist department and tell them that in central Turkey, there is such a place that they can dig and they can find very old stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody cared, and nobody listened, nobody did any digging or whatever. Good enough, in 82, 83, at that time, I'm not exactly sure about the year, a Kurdish kid is grazing his sheep in the hills. All of a sudden, he runs right into some piece of white
Stones or whatever.
that is really carved and in beautiful shape and everything. Just the head of it was taken out. He ran to his father and says, hey, Dad, there's this stone here. There's some signs on it, blah, blah. The son comes, as the father comes and looks at it, he doesn't believe his eyes. He calls the gendarmes. There's a rule in Turkey. He goes to gendarmes. The gendarme comes and looks at it. He gets surprised. Says, what the hell is this? And then he talks to the authorities, Turkey. So authorities come and they see that this is something old. So they call this archaeological department of Turkey and goes up the ladder. And then ends up with the Germans. So since the Germans were the bodies of Turks, we know how long, they appoint some guy to come and do the investigation. And this guy's wife happened to be a Turkish woman.
Oh, man.
What's his name? It left me. I'll tell you the guy's name in a minute.
What a horrible turn of faith.
Yeah.
And then this Turkish, German scientist, archaeologist comes to Turkey and starts digging in the area. It took him about 20 years digging.
Oh, yeah. The massive structure.
Yeah. And then in 2011, the National Geographic came with a story about the Göbekli. Göbekli Tepe means Portasar.
Portasar. Yeah.
Because it looks like a Portasar.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in English, it would be the belly button.
belly button.
Belly button of the
belly hill.
belly.
Belly button hill.
Yeah.
So they dug in there and they cleaned out, and there are several of them. Not one, not two, not three.
Yep.
several.
Yeah.
It's a huge complex.
Yes.
Who did it? Why it was carved? And all the signs on top of on the columns, on the pillars,
Yes.
and the pictures and that are carved on the animals, everything means something. And all of that combined means, according to the scientists, means in different eras of the universe spinning around, Milky Way galaxy. It's called precision of equinoxes.
Yes.
The precision of equinoxes takes 25,920 years, which is, very simply put,
An age.
when the sun comes out from under one group of stars here, and then 2,100 years later, sun comes out from under another group of stars. Those are the groups of stars that humans have created to picture the skyline.
It's an age.
The skyline. It's 12 groups of them.
Yes.
So every time this sun comes out from under one group of stars, it turns around one circle, makes one full circle. It takes 25,920 years.
Which, by the way, wasn't the Mayan calendar based off of this? The Mayan wheel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm compelled to ask, where did these Mayans learn from?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
the level they
Exactly.
had. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
have been in that Mayans temples and looked up and down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is this structure of the universe was carved on a rock that me, my friend Art musician, and another guy, Karen Tokhatian, Jara Patkir specialist, three of us, after emptying one full bottle of vodka, on 3,000 meters, we run right into that stone. Artak says, Karen, I have never seen a picture like this. Karen says, me too. And I said, hey, look, me either. I mean, come on. It's a big rock. I have the picture of it.
Oh, that's
I may find
amazing.
it in my phone. 12 zodiac groups. And the Milky Way galaxy pictures in such a way that you cannot think of anything else. You're going to have to say, oh, this is the Milky Way. I mean, that's carved in a rock.
Yeah.
Like 15, 20,000 years old. Why would the people do that on a 3,000 meters elevation?
They had nothing better to do but to look up at the sky.
Oh, yeah, they had nothing to do. And his wife allowed him to go up 3,000 meters in the middle of the night and look at the universe and carve it on a rock. So what I'm trying to say is these people had knowledge.
Of course they did.
And somebody gave it to them.
That I agree with.
Not me. Somebody from higher up,
Gave-
much higher information that they contained. They did give
That I
all
agree with.
information to those people. And hey, look, if you are so stuck to the idea of studying the universe, there's gotta be something. I mean,
Yeah.
there has to be a reason.
Yeah. Call it God, call it whatever. There's got to be
You're not-
something.
Yeah, back to the Göbekli Tepe, and those pillars in Göbekli Tepe, and they're standing exactly the way the Milky Way universe, Milky Way galaxy is built
Yeah,
on,
the
the
whole
way
thing's
they
aligned.
pictured, the way they understood what universe is. The same knowledge.
Yeah.
In Göbekli Tepe, you know how many of those kind of structures, like in Karahunj,
Mm-hmm.
there's one in Africa, it's called Map of the Earth or map of the planet. There's one in northwest France. There's one in Stonehenge. There is everywhere in the world. Some good, some not that good, some really sophisticated, like
Sure,
Göbekli
yeah.
Tepe. And the funny thing of Göbekli Tepe is they covered it up with rocks. They just built it up, covered it, and preserved it. Why would you preserve structure like that? Apparently, it was important for you.
Big structure. It's a
You
huge
had to
structure.
preserve it for future generations.
Yeah.
Because someday that same system was going to return.
Yeah.
It's going to come back. I'm very sorry. In Egypt, in Egyptian,
Lore.
in a book of the dead, it's not actually about the dead, but it's just a book of the old stuff. There's one text. It says, when the sun will come out from under the poles of Leo's galaxy, at that time, a constellation, not galaxy, Leo's constellation, at that time, the peace and harmony will return to the planet Earth. And it will be as above,
As above, as so below. Yeah.
That's the text in
Yes.
Egypt.
Yes.
What do they mean by that?
Oh, I've come across that saying
When
with so
does-
many different things. And
When does the sun come out from the middle of the poles of the Leo's constellation? It was about 12, 13,000 years ago. So they are expecting that same thing is going to happen again.
Yeah.
When that thing goes
the
into full
25,000.
circle.
Yeah, the 25,000. I think so. What is it? 25,100 years.
920. When it comes into full circle, believe you me, it's going to return again, and the harmony and peace will return to the earth.
So
We got another
12 and,
13,000.
12 and a half thousand.
Maybe not. By the way, this global warming thing they're talking about all the time,
Yeah. Oh.
this is scientific stuff. It's not a story. Sun and Sirius are sister suns. Our sun and Sirius are sisters. They turn around each other in a binary system. In Milky Way galaxy, there are 3, 4, sometimes 5 stars turn in a binary system around each other.
Okay.
So Sirius and Sun, when they turn around each other, they create that one full circle, which is the 25,920 years. When they go 13,000 years go away from each other, and 13,000 years go back. But
Closer when they get
like go
closer.
like this.
Yeah.
So it's an oval system, oval. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they go out and they come
Almost
closer.
looks like, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like wait. So is it a perfect circle or is it like a
it's
like
an
oval.
elliptical?
It's like an
Oval, like this. They go away from each other
Yeah.
and they come close to each other.
Okay.
So when they go away from each
That's
other,
fascinating stuff. I gotta look into this.
you can watch this. There is a documentary made by American NASA. It's a documentary called "The Great Year." Again, everything I'm saying has nothing to do with me. It's all
I know.
scientific stuff.
Yeah.
So you watch that movie, The Great Year,
Okay.
and they're prohibiting that movie just like everything else. They're falsifying the story. Now, when they go away from each other, Sun and Sirius, the sun's kids,
Yeah.
planets get cooler because they lose
They lose a little bit of power. Yeah.
heat from the Sirius. When they come closer, they are here, right? They gain heat.
Wow.
That's where we are right now.
The more you get closer to each other, more heat you gain. So we got about 200-300 years to reach the middle point of the great circle, great year.
Yeah.
Universal great year. Okay. It's very simple. NASA, great year. Watch.
Okay.
Okay. You guys hear that?
That's why when this is warming up, don't get surprised.
Yeah.
It's a natural, universal phenomenon. By
There's
driving electric car, you're not going to save the planet.
no. There's money to be made.
Even
For
though,
some.
even though good news, I'm getting my Rivian in a month. So
There's money to be made.
Listen, they're giving $4,000 to buyers of electric cars in New Jersey. $4,000, so you can buy $60,000 car.
Oh no, I know, but I'm a fan of Rivian, which is the first electric truck ever made. I've been following them since 2011. So, and I ordered one.
I saw that photo. That was pretty snazzy.
It is fantastic.
It's
to
an
have
amazing
electric
car. Yeah, no,
But-
I love technology, but
But forcing the poor guy.
no, you got to be able to afford it. If you can't afford it, you can't. But
The poor-
I got the news today. In a month, he said 4 to 6 weeks max, you will have the car. So I'm excited. It has nothing to do with having but it's just I'm a fan of the car. But yeah, you're right. You can't go. Average person can't afford $60,000-$70,000 car, even if you give him $4,000 back. And by the way, you don't get that $4,000 on like discounted from the car. It's something they give you back later.
But it's all funny. It's all funny money. Like what's going on with what they're trying to push is funny money.
Everything that was invented by politicians.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always. I am from Soviet Union. I know how it works.
All right. Audie says thank you for answering his question. I don't know if you want to talk more about his question.
The Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah.
The only thing I don't know about the Göbekli Tepe is when exactly it was built, because they are saying between 11,000
we have an estimation here, right?
Yeah.
somewhere there. But again, it had to do with a great year. It has to do something to observe the universe. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. It's not to sit there and watch the stars. No.
I know. I'm just joking.
It had some kind of astronomical and universal purpose. That is what I'm trying to figure out for myself. Probably will soon enough.
Oh, we'll have you back on the show. We can figure it out. Guys, if you
we had another question. Biting in Truth said, "I heard that Bel was Nimrod and that Hike actually killed Nimrod. Have you guys heard that too?"
Okay, all old stories are created by humans. When there is something written in Sumerian manuscripts or in Armenian fairy tales, those are usually a transformation from the humans, from the gods, from the rulers to the people, so they can understand, so they can figure it out. Komitas once said, "Don't force anything to children, just tell them in a form of fairy tales, so it will be easily understood
Digested,
and digested." So all those fairy tales that all people have, different nations, like European nations, have all their own sagas,
Folktales,
stories, good stories, nice stories. They are usually like Sasunci Daviti Padunchun. I mean, this is true. It all has everything to do with universe. But you can't teach the peasant who worked all day long in a farming in the dirt. You teach them astronomy? No. They had to come up with nice and soft ways of
Yeah.
teaching people. The Mogera, those priests, had to come up with an easier way of telling people the real story
Yeah.
in a very understandable manner and form. That's why all these sagas by all different nations came along, the way they understood them. Our Sasunci David story is the best because it is very old. It's all about universe, creation of universe, but along with interesting stuff that are humanly understandable. War, this guy killed that guy screamed, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Made understand humanly digestible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer, I mean, to the question as far as Bel being Nimrod.
Oh yeah, those stories also come from those times, like 2500, 26, 2700 years. Those are from Sumerian scripts.
I'm going to pause you right there. You earlier said Sumerians. They didn't call themselves Sumerians.
Who?
Sumerian.
Sumerians weren't called Sumerians.
Oh yeah. Our best Sumeriologist in Armenia is Armen Davtyan, who has a lot of books on the subject, and I know him very well. An extremely smart guy. He has in his book a sentence that caught my attention right away. They call themselves Gilim. Themselves, Gilim.
Yeah.
The word Gilim is very familiar, similar to Geram. R'l in all Armenian words. It may be Re in Armenian, but becomes L in another language.
Yeah.
Like Herine Armenian, Helen in Greek,
Yeah.
Angel, Anger,
Yeah.
Angeratstone in Armenia, Anglia in England.
Yeah.
So that R'l is common.
Interchangeable.
Interchangeable and
Yeah.
common. It's a linguistic rule. So and I ran away again.
Nimrod.
Yeah.
So those words tend to throw a lot of people off the track, of the real track.
Yeah.
The names do not allow the names to fool you, in other words.
Yeah.
You have to follow the stories and the reasons behind why they fought, for what they fought, what land they fought for, who killed whom. But the names changed through thousands of years.
Yeah.
So Geram, Gelim, Sumer. Sumer was created by Sumeriologists or Assyriologists, scientists, not to call Armenia, not to have any connection with Armenia. The Sumeri people sat on their boats, leather boats, and transferred a lot of stuff via Tigris and Euphrates down to the Mesopotamia. How come that Mesopotamia became so readily available for harvesting and for
cultivating.
agricultural use? Because the water went down. After the so-called world
Floods.
apparently the water had gone very high up.
Yeah.
As a result of melting the poles.
Yeah.
As a result of Earth shifting its pole. Earth shifted its axis for 30 degrees. And then North Pole, South Pole became not pole anymore, and they melted. And all that water became like a flat thing. And then when the water started slowly going down, because it started evaporating, going to the new poles, they sat on the new poles. Now where we have North Pole, South Pole, it's because the water through thousands of years evaporated and sat up on the north and south. And the area, the delta between Tigris and Euphrates, the water went down. When the water went down, so did the people from Armenian highlands went down that area because it was very fertile, just like delta of Niles. See? Why did the Egyptians love that delta of Niles? Because it was very fertile land. Why? Because in the summertime, in June, all the mountains, snow in the mountains of Central Africa would melt and go down. And we had a flood in Egypt in June. Because at that time, water would come down. At that time, Sirius would show up in a southern hemisphere from the south. It would blink a little bit, and everybody would pray for Sirius. Oh, Sirius came out. Now is the time to go and start harvesting or whatever. Starting the agricultural events. Sirius was the sign. That's time to go out in a village, work. Because that's the time water came down. Same thing happened with Tigris and Euphrates. People went down because the water had gone down.
Yeah.
It was the best place to
to cultivate.
To cultivate.
Yes.
And when they did bring their stuff down on boats, they wrapped up their boats, put on donkeys and jack, and they brought them back. Either grain or agricultural stuff,
Yeah.
and back to their country, which was in the northern part of the Armenian plateau. In the northern part of Armenian plateau, the agricultural stuff was not that well, not that good because the mountains. A couple of months you have time
to
but you can bring it from the south.
Yeah.
But the southern people didn't have the gold and platinum and silver, and they didn't have the swords, and didn't have the
None of the metallurgy.
metallurgy. And where was that factory melting the gold? In Metsamor.
Metsamor. Yep.
And how did they get that kind of a high temperature to melt the gold?
That's a good question, because we talked about they had smelting. They had smelting at the location.
Yeah.
And there's signs of it, and there's a lot of residue and whatnot that you can still see.
Little bit, but the rest of the schlag and what's left over after the
remnants,
gone, they used it. Where did they get all that information? I saw in Metsamor in a museum a little statue made in Egypt. At that time, Egyptian kings would marry the Armenian princesses. 1300, 1450, 1600 BC. Tutankhamun's mother was Armenian. 3 generations of Armenian princesses went to Egypt as a queens,
bride or
as
queen.
brides of queens.
Yeah.
They took hundreds of people with them, their music, their culture, their food.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one more thing that will blow your mind, actually. A few years ago, a good friend of mine said, Ajaydan, comes to me and Flora Martirosyan were sitting there and listening to some music. She goes, you don't know what I found. Flora Martirosyan looks at her face and says, wow, what did you find, Seda? Listen to this. CD, puts in the computer and listens. Flora says, well, that's Middle Ages Sharakan. Armenian Sharakans.
Yeah.
Seda says, yeah, that's Sharakan, but that's from Egypt. What do you mean from Egypt? Apparently, the Cardinal of Spain, Madrid, financed a program that a few scientists or musicians went to Egypt, and they looked into their carvings and their texts and whatever.
Yeah.
They found all these musical signs,
Hieroglyphs and everything.
hieroglyphs and sign, musical signs and everything, and they created the music out of it. This Spanish musical scientists.
Okay.
And they recorded it. And then when they record it, you put in a computer, you play, it's Armenian musical, Middle Eastern Sharakan.
Yeah.
But it's taken out of the walls
Of Egypt.
of Pharaoh's burial place.
The tombs.
Okay. What's the connection here? Connection is very simple. Those musicians that came from Armenia with a princess, they were playing that music, and they were the guys who were writing.
Well,
on the walls.
we know for a fact that all the psalms that they sing in churches, they're all pre-Christian songs that have been reworded. And again, this was something that was recently brought to my attention with the friend that I want to have on the show.
Yeah.
He actually has tested frequencies, and I want to talk about. I don't want to give away the story. It was amazing, but the way they sing and the enunciations have the highest frequencies in any type of call it
vibrations.
religious
Vibrations.
singing, whatever. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, the stories he was telling me is just. I'm trying to get him on, so I think people will like it.
Come on, if you're watching.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you guys are enjoying this. We are being fed so much knowledge.
It's a great conversation, man.
I feel like, right now, I know our topic is just general Armenian history and the falsification and so forth, but I would love for you on future episodes to pick a certain topic and just dive into it and cover that. And, I think you're going to be a regular guest with us. Thank you so much for doing this. Going kind of back to, again, our topic tomorrow's event is about the falsification. And in your opinion, how do we fight back? Like, what is our war plan, call it.
Take initiative.
How do we fight back this falsification? What do we do individually, as a group, organizations, in your opinion, from all the analysis that you've done and the research you've done? What do you think we should do?
Do exactly what I did. Read, study, line them up, create stories, unbeatable stories. With, airtight.
With facts.
With facts. Filled with facts. So they get crazy. They can't fight them anymore. I have had people who we would have conversations with, and at the beginning, they would fight with me. Fight.
Because you're challenging their truth.
And then eventually, they would have no more tools to fight with. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, right? First, they'll fight you. Then they'll laugh at you. Then they'll laugh at you. Then something else. Then you win. In other words, they will fight you. They'll curse you.
Yeah.
They will call you all kinds of names. But then eventually, they'll run out of them.
Yeah.
When you have enough knowledge and enough weapons,
You're still going.
Yeah.
you're still going and you are picking up, you're learning, you're getting more information from here and there and there and there. And from their own lies, you pick the truth. Like Hegel said, in every lie, there is a 5% truth. Yeah. You pick up this guy's 100% lies and you pick that truth because you know what the truth is. And you put in front of him, you feed him with his own stuff. And then there's no place to run.
Yeah.
Create a story, true story, and always remember the truth shall set you free because that's the only thing that will take you to your destination. You lie once and then you're going to have to lie again, a better lie, and then a stronger lie, and then on a fourth lie you break down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
No place to
It'll
go.
catch up with you. It will catch up with you.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did we have any other questions from?
I think frequencies topic sounds very interesting.
Yeah,
That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
that's a rabbit hole topic.
Trust me, I am doing everything, and I will
look into cymatics.
Yeah, I'll definitely work on when we come back after our little vacation.
Everything the human has is a vibration.
Yes, it is.
The kinetic vibration is also,
yes.
The closer your vibration is, they call it a rule of something. What was it called? I forgot. A rule of not connection. There was another word. In other words, when a connection is close, a vibration is close, they connect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instinctively, you can fight it.
Yeah. You said about how we win this war. I think part of it is also our children, our kids need to learn this stuff. This is so important. I think at a younger age, like you said, feed them in the softer version of it for them to kind of grasp it. But as they get older, we need to have either some kind of organizations, or we need to change the curriculum in schools, in Armenian schools especially, or at home. Teach your kids all this stuff. Read it yourself, learn, and then share it with your kids on a lighter version so they understand.
If somebody writes a book about you and writes this, in the deepest antiquity, probably beginning from 11,000 BC, the Armenoids constituted a highest class, at least in the central part of the Middle Eastern cultural circle. And their expansions generally coincided with the process of expansion of this circle. Now, this is a guy who himself is Jewish and a mathematician. Why did he have to spend his time and write about the history of Armenoids? I mean,
which book is that?
It's called Armenoids in Prehistory. It's a Russian Jewish guy. He left his mathematics research and wrote a book about Armenians. Sometimes when you read this kind of books, I mean, you can't
put it down.
Put it down. I mean, it is so.
And when was that written? That book?
It's a pretty recent book.
It's a recent book.
Any book you can write, you can buy for $25, $30, right?
Yeah.
84. I bought this book. I paid for it $75, just because it's written by a Jewish guy. You see, we were talking about a little while ago how they convince everybody to believe them.
Yeah.
Just because the writer is Moshe's son, so it's got to be more money.
Armenoids of
In prehistory.
In prehistory.
history.
I mean,
Guys,
he's talking all about people who lived in Armenian plateau.
Yeah. Any other books you recommend our listeners to get to kind of familiarize with them?
Oh my God. I don't want to ruin their lives.
No, it's not ruining their lives. Educate. I want to read these. I mean, I want to get these and read them. And I finally get to have a office/library at my house, and I have all these books, especially a lot of Armenian stuff that I am gonna like. I actually got a reading chair. I have a reading chair.
wow!
Yeah.
Of course you would.
I have a reading
Of
chair.
course you would. Of course you would.
This is
I had to. It's my first library.
In about 5 years, if there's like 20 things that you're not using, I'm taking it.
Okay. All right.
100%.
Deal.
I just had an idea. You just ask a question, and this is the answer. I'm going to ask Vahan to sit down and write
A list.
a list of the books that we should recommend
That's a great idea.
people
Yeah.
to start. You know how
Oh,
many
that's
times
fantastic idea. Because
how many times
people ask all the time.
they ask me that same question, and I go just like I did now. I said, "Where do we start? Where did I start?"
Yeah.
But I started 4 years ago. I want you to start the same way for like I did. Now we have to have a list that would be from the easy to middle easy, and then hard, and then very hard. So to understand the very hard book, you can start from the very hard. It's just too much.
There's
knowledge.
There's pretext that you need to understand to graduate to other levels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we have to create a list from the easy
Sure.
to a little bit harder, and on and on. Then when you read along that list,
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
that will fill in and prepare you like a platform for the next book. When you start the next book, you understand because you have met some of it at the beginning in earlier books. Give you an example. I have taken lots of tests in my life, especially in this country, and I'm taking a test of the securities, you know, Wall Street securities test, a very hard one. I'm reading and reading and reading. I see that I don't know the answer to this one. I put it aside, and I put it aside for like 20, 30 of them, put it aside. And then at the end, I went back, and then I see that the answer to this one,
was in another
I had
question.
already
In another question. Yeah.
Now I fill it in. That same goes with the books. You read 10, 15 of them, you start finding the answers from one guy, one scientist, one archaeologist, a linguist along the way. And you build your case.
See, that's a great point. So imagine if Vahan, if you're still with us, if we were to set, let's say if it's 10 books, 12 books, whatever it is, step of like a guide, start with this, go to this, go to, if everybody
That's an
took the
amazing
time, if everybody took the time to read them, maybe we can make an audio version of it. I don't know, or listen to it. And so imagine if everybody read these books step by step.
Yeah.
Now everybody's filled with the same knowledge, same truth.
And now you're passing along that knowledge in
And you
conversation.
passed it on in conversation.
Whatever.
Or did you read this? If you're on book 2, I'm on book 3. I'll be like, hey, by the way, that's gonna, all these. Now the conversation at the dinner table is about the history.
Yeah.
Now the conversation at the cigar lounge is about the history. Do you see how instead of talking about dumb things, cars, this, that, who has the Lamborghini, who does, Ferrari, this, all the BS we talk about. Now we're talking about our history, factual history, learning, educating.
Yeah.
This is a great idea. I like this.
Yeah, and that will develop your brain capacity too.
Yeah.
When you're talking about losing money in Vegas, it does not make you any more happy.
No, it
Does
doesn't.
it make you
I don't want
better
to talk about. I hate when people talk about money. It's just, it's disgusting.
Okay,
So
It almost feels like a rite of passage. It's like
yeah,
when they compare numbers.
yeah. It's like get out of
Once
here.
I heard
Money comes and goes. Yeah.
Once I heard the answer about that Vegas from a radio talk show host, Dennis Prager, and I loved it. He goes, I don't go to Vegas and I don't gamble. And then one of the callers asked him, why, Dennis? Why don't you go to Vegas? You got a lot of money. I mean, you're a rich guy. Because listen to me. When I win $100 or $200, that happiness lasts 2 minutes. But when I lose $200, that sadness lasts forever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The Dennis Prager is a huge guy.
true.
I mean, this guy is unbelievable. Very smart guy.
Very true. Very true. Do we have a question from an audience member?
We had one. So how much? Amor is asking, how much of the falsification do you think is due to Armens and Aryans being interchangeable? Like, for instance, Aryans are associated with Nazis, therefore Armenian history is inherently evil or satanic by today's worldview.
Okay, let's start from the word Ar. Persians called themselves Aryan nation.
Yes.
Hitler wanted to be the only Aryan nation, so he had this commission scientists. They came and wrote that down, what nation is Aryan? And the Armenian two guys, Asadrian and Aberian, historically proved him that the very first Aryan nation is the Armenians. So on the list of the Aryan nations, on the first place went Armenish. Armenians are the first Aryan nation. Now, everybody else came later. So, when you are going to the source and you're finding out that R is the very first Armenian syllable in the Armenian language, and everything else is with Armenian word R, the syllable. Now, I asked the Persian person, I said, do you have any words in Persian that start with R? He says, yeah, there are a couple. Armen, Aryan, Aryuts, Artsiv, Aryatsi, you know how many hundreds of words there are with R? Because it's very positive meaning. Because of its positive meaning. So you don't find a word with R that has a negative meaning.
Even names. Like names with the R sound,
Not only in the beginning, but also in the middle and at the end. I mean, this word R has come at the beginning of the language of the Armen people. Aryan were Persians called Armenians, Armeni, Armen, or whatever. That's why we have this confusion about our self-definition of what we are, Hai or Armen. Hais, in other words, us Armens, called ourselves Hai and Haik, the country, after the god Haya, which is in Sumerian like texts, Haya Enki. Enki means Lord of the land. Haya was the very first god that our people living in Asia Minor and Armenian plateau worshipped that god. He must have been from another planet. I don't know. Maybe he's one of those who created us. I don't know. So, but there are thousands of his descriptions of his face
with the curly beard
him in the transcripts. Why didn't they write Putin instead of or Chinggis Khan? They didn't, because they saw the person, they called him Haya. So Haya must have meant something universal from the universe of origin of universe. I don't know, but probably, the most probably, Hai had something to do with universal origin. And our men comes because Persians called us that way because they themselves also called Aryan nation.
Yes.
What else can I say? Those are the two names only we have for ourselves.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Amor?
And the British called us Armenoid.
Armenoids.
They made the mistake. They called us Armenoid, and they like fell in a trap. You know, they can't change it anymore.
Why did they? Is there a specific reason as to why?
You wanna read it? Yeah. Russia and Turkey in the 19th century, written by American historian Elizabeth Latimer. I didn't write this book. Don't blame me. A member of the British Parliament, Lord Pitt, a very famous guy, Pitt, said, "We must at all risks maintain the integrity of the Ottoman Empire. Has been long a maximum of European diplomacy. I decline to argue with any man, says Pitt, who does not see that in the interests of England, the Ottoman Empire must be preserved. Here you go. I'm reading the Downfall of Greece, a doctorate written by a Greek woman. In that, there was a quote from Churchill. When Venizelos was the prime minister of Greece, was spending his 6 months in London trying to convince the British government and Churchill that they should help Greeks in their fight against Turkey. They had an army already in Turkey, and Smyrna was theirs, blah, blah. And their king was the son-in-law of British Queen, for God's sake. I mean, come on. You should help us. And then what happens? Churchill says, Venizelos and Greece are not forever. They're not permanent. We must help to preserve the integrity of Turkey. How about that?
I never liked Churchill.
Yeah.
Oh, he knew what he was doing.
Oh, I know he was a very smart man. Very smart man.
He was talking from interests of their own empire.
Of course. It's always been about England.
personally-
England. It's always been about
Empire
empires and the English
is an empire.
Yeah.
They have only one way of thinking from the benefit and
Internal benefits.
their
Yeah,
benefit
absolutely.
of the empire. Look, what do you think Putin is doing?
Of course.
He's thinking like a Chinggis Khan.
They are.
Did you see his face with the defense minister Shoigu? Shoigu is Turk, the Mongol.
Yeah.
So when they were looking at each other's face, they were like brothers. Shoigu told the Turkish, one of those guys from Middle East, from Far Asia, he says, we Turks carried out a successful operation against Armenians. They are behaving like Mongols. You see, the Turks are Turkish-speaking Seljuks, and the Russians are Russian-speaking Mongols. They are from the same origin.
Yeah.
Same area.
Seljuks and Mongols come from the same place. The mentality hasn't changed. The genetics hasn't changed.
No.
Interesting. We had another question. This was from Nar asking, is it true that the last king of Armenia was the king of Italy?
King of Italy.
Yeah, king of
Maybe the Etruscans?
no.
or
The question is it true that the last king of Armenia was the king of Italy as well?
As well. No, let me put
there's
it
no-
this way. If we go by known facts, the last king of Armenia would be the Kilikian kingdom,
Which is
Levon the Sixth.
Levon the Sixth, yeah.
Yeah, but when he was about to lose to the Mamluks, what he did is he took his entire wealth of kingdom and he gave it to the British for preservation until the Armenia becomes free again.
Yeah.
But also he gave the lion, the statue of a lion, to the Venetians. In Venice, in the middle of the St. Mark's Square, you'll see a big column, and on top of it, that's the
Armenian.
lion,
Seleucian.
given by the last king of Kilikia.
Kilikia.
After the Kilikian kingdom, in eastern Armenia, we have had a small, short-lived,
Yeah.
temporary type of kingdoms. But before that, we had in 1045 we had Bagratuni.
The
kingdom
Bagratunis, yeah,
in
that's what
Armenia,
we're covering right now.
But it was given up by the Pedros Gedadarts Catholicos who sold it. He just sold the kingdom and a king.
We haven't got there yet. We haven't gotten there yet.
okay.
No spoiler, but whatever. Yeah. I mean, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
there.
So,
No, but we had Levon VI to be the last king, and he did not rule in any way, shape, or form in Italy at all.
yeah.
But Vahan has a good book about, no, not Vahan. Ellis, an English linguist, Robert Ellis, has the book about the Armenian origin of the Etruscans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know that during the Byzantine, we had a lot of Armenian origin emperors and things
in
like
Byzantine,
Yeah. But
Yes.
yeah. I know.
line of them.
A line of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Generals.
For a little over 100 years.
Yeah. We had a lot of Armenian origin emperors.
of them to be Vasil II, who did take
Yes.
Bagratuni kingdom and destroyed kingdom altogether.
Yeah. We'll get to those exciting stories.
Shall I ask, or are you asking?
Go ahead.
I'm just asking who's going
It's
to
going
ask.
to be the last question
Okay.
tonight.
We ask everybody this question, all of our guests. If you had a time machine, Hamlet, what period or time era would you want to revisit in Armenian history?
In the past,
Yeah.
I would like to go to the Bagratuni kingdom at the time of the king and see how that Archbishop, where Catholicos was
What you
fooling
just mentioned.
and lying
Yeah.
and selling that entire kingdom, and I would do something about it. I would
That's-
love to be there alive.
Okay, the fact that he's mentioning this, maybe we really need to elaborate on this because that's
we'll get to it.
I know,
Yeah,
but that's a big turning point.
Yeah. No,
Big
no. we
turning
will.
point in Armenian history.
Yeah, it's a massive turning point.
Armenian kingdom, Bagratuni kingdom was destroyed. Ani was emptied. Greeks came, Turks came.
That's it.
Armenians ended up in Crimea, in Theodosia, and in Poland, in Krakow. In Krakow, these Armenians were built by Anetsis.
It's funny. The way you just described it reminds me of now.
I more or
Somebody
less,
just-
but that was a sequence of different events,
yeah.
but 700-800 years ago, right? This event.
1045.
Yeah.
Oh, Harach is joining
Very,
us.
very sad.
Hey.
Well, this was great. We've been talking about almost 2.5 hours.
Fantastic conversation.
We are definitely going to have you back.
Absolutely.
We are going to pick specific topics and just go into it. I know this was just kind of general, but you're going to be there tomorrow because of the wealth of knowledge you have. We wanted to kind of hit some points, and then I think tomorrow, those of you who are going to join us, you're going to get a lot of information.
Okay.
It's going to really open up your eyes. And, again, that's tomorrow at the Glendale Youth Center. Arrive 6 p.m. for the cocktail hour. We go on at 7.
A lot of people don't know what that youth center is. We have to mention it's next to the St. Mary's.
St. Mary's Armenia.
Church,
It's behind.
It's the UFO. It's the green UFO looking building.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you see driving up and down Central.
Yeah. By the way,
Park in a parking lot of the church.
Yeah.
not just that, there's going to be valet service. And so you guys can, we're taking care of that. So you can valet your car because the parking is tight over there. Arrive early. Please, again, this is a free event. We only have 200 seats. So, make sure you grab your seat, but arrive early to enjoy the art show, drink some wine, get to talk to us, meet us, mingle, take pictures. And then we'll be on stage at 7 and we'll go live on YouTube and Facebook as well for those of us who are following us that won't be able to be there around the world. Let's see what else. Besides that, anything you want to mention?
No, thank you very much. I'm really.
This was awesome. This was really, really, really.
Well, Hamlet John, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. I am grateful for Gevorg and Vaughn for introducing us to you. I mean, I knew about you, but it's very difficult to just reach out to somebody and say, hey, you want to come hang out? It's always got to be that connection. But
some sort of connection.
We'll definitely have you on again.
We are soldiers of the same army.
Yes, thank you. And some of those books, we'll put it up on our Instagram for you guys to know which books to at least start with. I know a lot of people are interested on some of this stuff here. So again, everyone, thank you for joining us. Follow us on Instagram for our posts. Become a Patreon. Support the show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need to get these subscriptions up. And our sculptures are all in stock, so order them. They will be at the show as well, so you can actually pick them up there as well. We'll have some over there, not all of them, some of them. But Mikey, anything?
No, I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, but just everyone, this is our last show for season 2.
Yes.
We're taking about a month and a half. We'll be back sometime in September. We haven't picked a date yet. Mike is going on an amazing journey in Europe. Have a safe trip, buddy.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you, sir.
When you come back, we'll have more.
Looking forward to it.
episodes, lives with guests, and a lot of things to cover. So, as we always say, thank you for everyone for joining us. Respect one another, love one another, and till the next
season.
actual season episode, take care of yourselves.